Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday morning. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest, episode 267 for our patrons. All right, let's do this here. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 267 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com. That's right. We have a website. We've had it for at least a decade, and you can always stream the shows right there in case you can't download the show for some reason in your favorite web app or just not even a web app, just your favorite app where, on your phone. But it's always there to stream just in case you need it. It's a fun little website. It's got a lot of links there to our Patreon, to our Discord, to a little bit of information about each of us. It needs to be updated. It's an old website. It's hosted on WordPress. I need to do some work on it, but it's there. And I promise you the latest shows are on there. You can always get to our old shows. Kim brought this up the other day over on our Clubhouse, the Discord server. You can get to the old shows on our Podbean site. So if you're ever looking to go back in time, maybe, I mean, we've been doing the show for over 18 years at this point. You want to go back to like 2009, 2010. That's a long time ago. Just go to beourguestpodcast.podbean.com and you can type in the episode number in the upper left-hand corner. There's a search box and it's like a time machine. You can go back to the old call-in shows and hear friends from long time ago that used to call in. And because we used to do those Sunday night shows that were 2 hours long once a month. I think that's kind of how we used to do it. Because again, I don't hide things. We used to just kind of copy WDW Today because more than anything, I'm a podcast fan. And I emulated them. I don't hide it. Matt, Mike, and Len, they're the reason I got into podcasting. I listened to all their shows, multiple times. I became friends with those guys and they did it right. They got my fandom. They didn't make me a fan of Disney, but they made me a fan of consuming the Disney product the way I did, daily through small doses through a podcast, as I commuted to work to become a teacher, as I had time when I was grading papers on my break at school. And it was weird because through podcasting, not being a podcaster at first, but through listening to podcasts, I feel like I know Matt, I feel like I know Len, I feel like I know Mike Scopa. I feel like I know Mike Newell, because they all had their different personalities. I didn't know them at first, but with podcasting, it was kind of cool because they weren't unreachable, because you could go to Walt Disney World during Mouse Fest and things like that, fan events, and you could run into them. And I remember, having a Dole Whip with Mike Scopa in Adventureland one time and getting a picture and just telling him, man, I really appreciate the time you put into doing those shows, and getting a picture with him one night at riding pirates with him late at night at a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. I mean, it was like meeting a baseball player, a football player. I admired it because I knew that he put a lot of time into doing those podcasts. I remember meeting Len one time back at Backlot Express. Same time I met Lou Mangello. And the thing is, very approachable people that were podcasters. Matt, the same thing. I met him at Jungle Cruise one time. Just had a 5-10 minute conversation. Couldn't have been nicer. Mike Newell, same thing. I met him at one point. And they took the time to say hello. And I still remember that. I mean, this was almost 20 years ago at this point. And the thing is, it meant a lot to me that these folks were very nice and kind, in because I knew that they took a lot of time to put these shows together at that point. And podcasting was still pretty much in its infancy, because I would imagine this was like 2006, 2007, 2008, maybe around there. Man, I feel like we're so old because it was so long ago at this point. But it was wild because it was almost like voodoo magic at that point, because it was it was inaccessible to do a podcast back then almost. It was everybody in the world has a podcast at this point. but it was just like, oh my gosh, there is Matt Hotchberg, there is Len Testa, and you got to meet him, you got to get a picture with these grainy old flip phones, and it was it was so cool. It was pre-social media, and it was just really neat, and I appreciate it because it really made my fandom for Disney that much more, because I love Disney. I love the Disney parks. You guys don't know. You guys know that I don't know why, but I'm such a sports fan that I just don't have enough time to watch all the movies in depth. But because I always have sports on, like right now here in the studio, I have the Rams Jags game because obviously my dad's working this game. It's kind of cool to have a game on early in the morning. That my dad's in London, and so I get to see the game where my dad's actually on another continent working the game. It's kind of fun. Rams are winning. I'm not a Rams fan because they left St. Louis, but I do I'm happy for my dad that they're winning. I'm excited for Sean, one of our listeners, who's the head grounds crew for the Cleveland Browns. His team is going to be playing in extreme weather conditions this afternoon out in Cleveland. He's taking care of the grounds out there, so that'll be exciting. He'll be telling about that in the Discord. So check that out I love all these connections we have. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going with this, but what I wanted to say is that it's kind of fun looking back and seeing how the fandom goes right through small gestures. Like I love that. I miss. I wish WDW today was around, because if they're around, they would be on like episode 4,000, 4,500. But they always did these little small episodes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you could get I wish you could still get to, and I know there's probably a way to go to the old episodes. I think there is. I think Dr. Kai shared it at one point, but I wish they were still around, but I know that people have gone on to other things. Len's got his new show. Matt does his Royal Caribbean blog thing, and he does that very well, and he's doing great. He's always on a cruise ship. I mean, I'm jealous all the time when I'm working in my office and he's out sailing, and he's got a beautiful family. People have gone on to do other things. But, personally, like, I'm jealous because I love those shows. I mean, I still look back on those. And again, it's one of those things, like, you look back and it's like, oh, those were the golden days. Because I would get so excited every time I got a WDW Today episode, a little 20-minute episode. Give us 5 minutes. We'll give you the world, and I'd be so excited, because the episodes didn't have to be, super on point. They had zombie episodes. They had crazy episodes. I still remember making my wife listen to the episode where Len talked about puking in the toilet in American Adventure. We were driving in South St. Louis. I still remember this. We were driving in South St. Louis to pick up Paige from her dad's house, because this was back. I mean, it's so long ago. Every other weekend, Paige would visit her real dad. At this point, this was forever ago. This was like when she was in middle school or something, or probably middle school. And every other weekend she'd go see her dad, and we'd have to pick her up on Sunday evenings. And I remember we were driving down there. It was like an hour's drive. We had to pick her up, and I'm like, you got to hear this podcast. It's hilarious. And I'd listened to it already twice, and she was like, she didn't really get it. And she's like, this is the weirdest thing. I'm like, well, yeah, it probably is if we don't listen to the show. And if you've never heard it, you're probably like, what are you talking about? But if you heard it, Dr. Kai is probably cracking up right now. Because if it was because it's about Food and Wine Festival. And I think he ate too much, and it was binging and purging. It was a whole thing. You had to be there. So I should probably move on. Okay. So it's a beautiful fall day here in St. Louis. Let's make a transition. There's really no way to get out of that, but I'm just saying it was fun. And if you want to go back and listen to the old shows, maybe you'll enjoy them. We have a bunch of old ones that were a good time back in the day. So beourguestpodcast.podbean.com. I think that's where I was going with that. But anyway, I hope you're doing great here in the fall. Fall has finally arrived here in St. Louis as of today. Right now, it is 54 degrees. It is windy as heck outside. I just brought in Riley from her morning potty break, and yeah, man, it's windy out there. It's chilly. I had on the hoodie and the sweatpants, man. That's chilly out there with that on our lap around the lake, and yeah, it feels like Halloween. So let's go. So finally, it's made it. So we're gonna have cooler weather all week. So that's pretty nice. So hopefully you're having a great weekend, and hope things are going well for you. The podcast. Hope you're enjoying the shows. We're trying to do the best we can. We had some feedback over in the clubhouse. So this week on Friday, Both speaking of Sean, out in Cleveland, and Kim, our PhotoPass photographer friend who hangs out with the coolest friends every week down at Walt Disney World. They both wanted to have some feedback on Disneyland, how to maybe maximize 3 hours both in Disneyland and DCA. So I think on Friday, I'm going to talk to the ladies. I think they're both available for Friday. We're going to do a show where if you only had 3 hours in Disneyland Park and if you only had 3 hours in DCA, what attractions would you hit? What snacks would you get? And what dining would you go after? So we'll talk about that possibly for Friday. Of course, listener questions, you guys go to the top of the heap. So if you have a question, Mike at brguestpodcast.com for Wednesday. So what we're going to talk about in the kind of the main focus of the show is going to be kind of what's happening around here. So we'll save that. Trisha did ask over in the clubhouse about a topic. Now, I want to kind of do this in two different ways because I was going to do it for this week's show, but I'm going to do it for next week's show. And I am going to try to keep these shows a little bit shorter. They've been getting like 40 minutes. That's too long. When I wanted to do Mike in the Midwest, I wanted these to be 15-minute shows. It's supposed to be a mini podcast because we already do 4 shows a week that are long. I don't want to give you so much because I'm scared you just don't get through the shows and then you feel overwhelmed. That's how I feel with podcasts. If I start to get behind on shows, then I start to give up, and I don't want that to be the case. So here's the deal. So Trisha wanted me to do a show about my favorite commercials from the past, and I love this idea. I feel like I'm Steven Tyler on Rock and Roller Coaster, RIP. I love this idea, and I've been talking about this with my wife over dinner a couple of times. We've been like, oh man, what commercials? But here's the thing. I want to give a heads up and say, we'll do this next week because I want you to drop your comments in the Patreon feedback or over on the Clubhouse Patreon, whichever one you want to do. I'll look both places, but I want you to give your favorite commercials and I will share those next week. Now, I will give you a few of mine. I'm going to give you more of mine next week, but I will give you some of mine that popped up initially when Trisha gave me this idea for a show. The first one that came up, because again, we're getting close to the holidays, right? The first one that popped up was a Christmas commercial that I love. And I don't even know. Again, I'm very nostalgic and and I love Christmas is my favorite holiday. Do you remember that one where, and it's a coffee commercial, and I can't remember if it's Folgers, because I don't drink coffee, but it's where it's the guy that kind of sneaks in the house. And this is from the 80s. It's Somebody Comes Home. It's like a guy's name that comes home and he sneaks in. I should look this up. I don't want to look because I'm scared I'll bog down the computer. But it's like Bobby Comes Home or something. But in the middle of early in the morning or in the middle of the night, I think he's off at college or something. But he sneaks in the middle of the night and he comes home and he gets out the big tin of coffee, because back in the 80s you would have that 5-pound tin of coffee, and he brews a pot of coffee and it makes the whole house smell like coffee, I guess. And then mom and dad come down from they're upstairs in their bedroom, they come downstairs and they see that Tommy's home from college or something. Maybe it's Folgers or Sanka or something, I don't know. And they come down and it's maybe it's the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. I can't, maybe it's Folgers, but that commercial would come on every Christmas, and it was oh, because I guess he's coming home for Christmas. That's probably what it is. I love that commercial. For some reason, that commercial always got me. That was one of my favorite commercials around Christmas. And it was to me, it seems like it's an old person's commercial, but that's on point for me, right? Because I'm an old soul. So that's one of my favorite all-time commercials. Another kind of genre of commercial I loved, just in general, cereal commercials. I don't know what it was, Saturday morning cereal commercials, especially the Flintstone commercials where Barney would be trying to steal Fred Flintstone's cereal for Fruity Pebbles and stuff like that, especially Christmas ones. He'd dress up like Santa Claus and come down the chimney and, try to steal, those were they were little mini cartoons for 30 seconds. I love those commercials. But a lot of those little commercials from the 80s for cereals, they seemed to me they were little mini cartoons for 30 seconds. Pac-Man had a little cartoon commercial because it had a cereal. A lot of those commercials were almost like a little cartoon. So I remember those a lot. Of course, you had the Micro Machines guy that would talk super fast. If you were my generation, you might remember that guy. Blah, 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 blah. He talked a million miles an hour. That was kind of a, I never had Micro Machines, but I just remember the Micro Machines guy talked super fast. One of the ones that we always emulated as a kid was the clapper. Clap on, clap off, the clapper. And that lady's hands always seemed like they were obnoxiously large to me in the commercial. I don't know why. So that maybe that'll wet your whistle. I'm going to come up with a lot more for next week, but that's kind of what I was thinking. Like those are my kind of 80s commercials. Also, you'd have those like infomercials. I remember there was an infomercial that was always on for this like CD that would it was like easy. It was like it would be like soft rock music. I remember it was like not even power ballads, but it was almost like just soft rock music, and it was on all the time in the late 80s. And I swear there must be 20 million copies of that CD floating around the country. We probably have a bunch because my dad owned a mobile DJ company around that time, and I'm sure he bought it because we would play that kind of stuff for dinner. Like, while everybody ate their dinner, we'd play a CD. We just put on a CD so everybody could eat their dinner to soft background music. And then once everybody ate their dinner, we'd start the show rolling with the first dance and all that good jazz, and then play the music. So we probably have, because we at one point we had 12 systems, and so we'd have 12 copies of everything. So I bet you we have them. I don't know. I gotta look up the name of that CD, but the infomercial was on all the time. It showed like a lake, like at sunset, and it was a whole thing. So those are kind of some of mine. So you got to give me yours over on patreon.com. So it should be our guest podcast. What were some of your favorite commercials as a kid? Of course, like my baloney has a first name. It's OSCAR. That's one of my favorite. I love those because I love, Cold Cuts and Oscar Mayer. So give me yours and let me know, and we'll share those next week. Best commercials. I'll add some more of mine. Those are just some of the ones that came like as we were talking about them. The cereal commercials really stood out for me, and the clapper. Clap on. Now that'll be stuck in your head too, because it's been stuck in my head all week. All right. So the topic I wanted to hit, because I don't want this show to get super long. Again, I want to kind of cut it shorter, is I want to talk about something. Obviously, you saw on my social media this week, the Blitz was that it was Mallory's senior night at Francis Howell this past Friday night. And you guys know I had to hold it together, right? Because I am an emotional dude. Like I will cry when there's, like at Disney, dude, when Happily Ever After, when Go the Distance comes on, do, I'm like, oh, I'm fighting the tears every time. Because I think it's because I'm a runner and that song connects with me because of marathoning. But it's also just life in general. Go the distance, right? I mean, you go the distance with your kids, you go the distance with a task, right? You have to fight through. You got to see something to the end. It's metaphorical. But I mean, I really see it with marathoning. I really, really see it with marathoning because I truly believe because when I was in high school and played baseball, I was always the slowest person all 4 years on all four, like 9 through 12. I was the slowest person in our baseball program all 4 years. I was the slowest runner. And I was told I would be cut from the program if I could not run 2 miles in 20 minutes. And I never ran 2 miles in 20 minutes in my 4 years at my high school. But they did keep me on the team. I don't know why. Well, I mean, I know why, because I was tall and I was a left-handed pitcher, and they needed a tall left-handed pitcher, and I was pretty good at baseball. So they kept me, but when I tried out my freshman year, we had 125 guys try out for the baseball team, for the freshman baseball team. It was a big high school. And they only kept 17 guys. So they were trying to eliminate people, right? So there was 125 guys trying out for 17 slots. So that was a good way to cut people, right? You have to run 2 miles in 20 minutes. So that this wiped out a gajillion people right off the bat. I was super slow. So I was like, shoot, I'm gone. So I didn't make that. But they kept me around because obviously, they let us pitch and hit and, field and stuff like that. So I got to make the team. And the thing is, like, the irony of it is, at this point in my life, I've become a runner. I ran, I didn't run my first marathon until I was in my 40s. But when I was in my teens, my 20s, my 30s, in my late 20s and 30s, I became a speed skater. And but all this stuff happened like in the later part of my life, right? When I was in my teens and high school and college, in college, I started to become a speed skater. So this all happened later in life. It's kind of ironic, like when you think in your prime, I was super slow. I couldn't, the thing is, I could have been. It was all upstairs. It was mental. It was mental. I could have done it, but I didn't. I didn't tell myself I could. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. But the thing is, Mallory's senior night was Friday night at Howell, and I called this show "Going Out Better Now" because one of the things, there's a lot of things I always talk about. Man, it was better in the old days. It was so much better in the old days. You know, I talk about that a lot because I'm super nostalgic. I admit it, and we talk about this with Disney, right, all the time. I mean, this is always what we talk about, and it's not always true. I think it's like rose-colored glasses for the past. I get that. I talk about, and I apologize for this on the podcast because I'm always like, oh my gosh, I wish paper fast passes, but maybe they weren't the best. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. It's easy to look back and say that. You don't know, but one of the things that's way better now is recognizing the end of a career. Like the way they did what they do now for the athletes. So obviously it was senior night for the cheerleaders, for the football players, for the senior band members, for the color guard, like the flag people, the like senior band members, all those people, all the people that were seniors got honored at the football because it was our last home football game, not including the playoffs, on Friday night. So before the football game, everybody got to line up on the track, and everybody was in the stands, all the fans in the stands, and everybody got their name called. All the athletes, and they announced like where you're going to go to college, what clubs you were in at the high school, how many years you've been in your sport or your uh, whatever you were playing, and all that stuff. You got to recognize. It's like, the cheerleaders got tiaras, they got sashes, they got bouquets, they got all this, it depended on your club what you got. But I mean, they got all this stuff, the cheerleaders got all this stuff, they got the recognition. And I thought this was awesome. It's great to see everybody get recognized. And yeah, because the thing is, it's closure, right? It's closure, and it's saying thank you because all these kids, whether they're playing a clarinet, whether they're playing doing a flag for 4 years on the drill team, whether they are playing tight end for the football team, or whether they're a manager for the football team and they've been filling water bottles, or carrying out the pads for the football team, or whatever it is. Everybody deserves equal footing and get to walk out there with their mom, their dad, their grandma, their grandpa, a significant adult in their family. It's an adoptive parent, whether it's just a significant parent, significant adult in their family, if they're not lucky enough to have mom or dad around, just somebody that's special to them, that's going to walk with them. Maybe it's a teacher that they appreciate. It was just awesome to get to have a recognition, to walk down and get a medal from your coach. Because I remember it's so different, right? And I know I'm old. I get it. You feel older when you go through all these things because, like, I was an athlete in high school, like Mallory, like Paige. But, like, how I went out as a senior athlete, I didn't tell Paige, or Mallory this, but my closure was this. And, like, it's wild, right? I was pitching when I was a senior. I was pitching in the district championship game and against our rivals, McClure North, and we were in a really good game. And it was 4-4, and here comes the manager out, and it was the fifth inning, and here comes manager out, and he comes out to talk, and he takes me out of the game, and he's it because there's a guy on second base, and it was I'm like, oh, dude, he's taking me out in the fifth inning. Like I was pitching pretty well that day, but it was 4-4, and I mean I'd thrown a lot of pitches, and it was hot, so I was like, he's taking me out. But he's like, I'm bringing in Eddie Woods. He's your good relief pitcher. I'm like, well, we can do. He's a good relief pitcher. And I was like, Eddie will get him. It's good. It's like it's his job, right? Eddie's had a good year. He'll be fine. I'm gonna bring in Eddie. All right. So I don't think much of it. Takes me out, go sit on the bit, walk off the field. Dude, Eddie comes in, gives up a 2-run homer. We lose 7-5. That was the last time I pitched. That was it. My high school career ended. We lost the game over, season over, career over. Never pitched a high school game the rest of my life. And that was my closure. We didn't have a senior night when I was in high school. We didn't have anything like that. That was it. Like we didn't have any of this. You didn't get recognized with your parents. Nobody said thank you for playing for Hazelwood Central. I mean, but nobody got that back then. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a thing back then, but it would have been cool. Like it would have been cool. And I think what it does is it makes maybe closure a little bit easier for these kids. And I don't think I'm definitely not a person for participation trophies. I think you need to earn it. But I think also as the parent of an athlete or somebody who participates in all these activities, I do see the time that these kids give up to participate in an activity like this, whether it is band or to be a manager of the football team or to play on the football team or to be a cheerleader, to be a pom, whatever it is that they sacrifice, because instead of doing that, they could have, because a lot of these kids, I mean, Mallory has a job, but she could have a job earning, working 10 times as many hours and making a lot more money, but she sacrifices that because they practice so much. And that's true of all these kids. They give a lot to their school and to their sport, and it's cool to get to recognize them. It was awesome. I love the idea. There are things that we do today that are way better than in the past. So I wanted to say that. That was very cool. So I wanted to close with this, that a couple things. If you have younger kids, you're going to get to do this likely, and it's going to be awesome. I just want to give you a heads up. It is going to be awesome. I'll tell you what, I got to walk on Mallory's left side. Pam walked on her right side, and it was one of the proudest moments of my life. It was so cool. But I also want to give you a heads up. Like it goes so fast. So just enjoy it. It's quick. I remember so for Francis Howell, we have a junior Vikings program for like our football team. We've been pretty good at football, right? I mean, we won state in 22. We didn't lose any football games. We send a lot of guys to Mizzou. We are really good at football usually. And the reason we are is like we have a football program that starts all the way in third grade through high school, but we have about 20 miles out in the country is where they play on Saturday mornings. It's called the Junior Vikings. And the coaches out there work with the high school coaches to run the same system. So it's third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, all the way into high school. And they play flag football they play tackle out there. They play flag like third, fourth, and then they start playing tackle. Anyway, they also have junior Vikings cheerleaders. Mallory coaches out there. But here's the thing. I remember Mallory cheering junior Vikings, and it feels like it was yesterday. It goes super fast. And the thing is, you get caught up in the minutia when you're in that like younger age stuff. Like you think, oh my gosh, this is so busy. I got to go to another game today. I wish I could stay home and watch the Mizzou game. Like I'm going to have to watch another Mizzou game on my phone. I'm not going to be able to do this or that because I have to go to this game. Or I remember when Paige was playing soccer, man, we'd play in soccer tournaments. We'd have 5 games in a weekend and I'd be coaching that. And I was just, there were some weekends I was like bitter. I was like, I'm never going to get to see a Mizzou game because Paige is playing in Kansas City or she's playing in Overland Park, Kansas in this tournament or We're playing in Peoria, Illinois in this soccer tournament. And we're driving all over the Midwest. You know, Mallory had all these cheer tournaments and cheer competitions in Indiana and Schaumburg, Illinois, and the Dells up in Wisconsin. We were everywhere for cheerleading competitions, you know, and I'm like, man, it costs a ton of money. But the thing is, looking back, dude, those are the best days. Enjoy them. Enjoy them. Don't wish them away. Because I'm telling you what, man, boom, it's over. It's over quick. So I'm just saying, like, just savor them. Just savor them because they go quickly. Scotty G will back me up on this. It's the best stuff. It's the best stuff. And I know you do. I know you do. And I'm preaching to the choir here. But I think sometimes it's good to get a little reminder because I love seeing your guys' pictures on social media because you guys do it right. And man, it fills my heart when I see all these pictures. And I just love seeing so many friends like just enjoying life, you know, folks that are enjoying their significant others on the weekends. Even if you don't have kids, I see like Maria's making her bread and, you know, with her husband and like she made me some bread and like, how kind was that? Like I've eaten like a half a loaf of bread this weekend. I'm going to turn into a loaf of bread. But just enjoy those around you and we have it good. And I just, you know, I don't even know why I'm saying this. I just wanted to I'm so full of love because of what I got to go through with Mallory this weekend that I just wanted to share that with you guys and just hope that what I want to do is heap it onto you guys. I want to say, don't miss it. Take every moment in and it's coming your way. If you got the younger kids, you're going to get to have this. And I'm so excited for you. All right. So next week we'll talk commercials. So let me know your favorite commercial. Oh, I didn't even hit the feedback from last week. So let me do that real quick. Oh my gosh, I missed it. Okay, real quick from last week. Francesca said, so happy to hear you're feeling better, Mike. I know that news like this takes time to process internally, but just know that whether you're running dopies or just running for exercise in your neighborhood, what you've done for this podcast community and the lizards will never diminish. You've given us so much knowledge about running. You've been a cheerleader for others. You've been an inspiration and will continue to be every week that you're behind the mic. Thank you, Francesca. I appreciate that. I just want to carry my weight on the lizards and I love doing the podcast and you just made my entire week. Thank you so much. And I know your family is going to have a great trip down at Art of Animation too. Thank you for helping when you book a trip too. That lets us keep doing the podcast. And I appreciate that so much. Carrie says, happy to hear you're doing better, Mike. Like you, I was pushing myself to work out every day, get my Apple Watch move goal no matter what. I finally had to take a step back and ask myself why I was doing that. I've done dopey now twice and realized my body isn't built for any more marathons. I'm very happy training for the half marathon and being kinder to my body. I was taking a stretching class on the Peloton app one day, and one of the trainers commented about working out 4 to 5 times per week. He said, yes, you heard me correctly. I give my body at least 2 days of rest each week. Doesn't mean you can't move or take Riley for a walk on those days off. Just make sure you are kind to your body and give it a rest. I struggle with that, but this episode was a great reminder for me to take those rest days. You've got this. Still struggling, but I'm going to get there. I promise, Carrie. I am still struggling, but I'm making progress. I am. My friend Billy Bean says, hey, Mike, I appreciate your dedication to the podcast and to keep the community. No apologies needed. I highly doubt that any of us were thinking, where's my Mike in the Midwest? Mike owes us a podcast. I was regularly checking the Discord for any updates and was happy to see that you were well enough to be released. I was talking to a friend at work who regularly runs the Chicago Marathon and has recently injured his knee and has to take a few weeks off. He was worried about missing some training. A friend told him, as I would tell you, the hay is in the barn. You've put in the miles. I've heard that a million times. And it's one of those things, right? Like, I know that, but it's that runner thing. I can't believe it, even though I know it. I got to believe it. I recently had a physical at work, and not shockingly, my glucose levels were high, so lifestyle changes are having to be made, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but being hit in the face with the reality of things that I already knew still doesn't feel very good. I hope that you can find a happy medium of doing something that you love to do and not causing any injuries. Billy. Billy, you take care of yourself, buddy, because we got to do more cruising. We got to hang out more, and I'll be thinking of you, buddy. Love you. And Trisha, please don't hate me, but the healthcare employee comes out in me when you have your GI issues. After seeing your pics on Discord, I went into problem solving mode. Random fact of the day: if you smooth your small intestine out flat, its surface area would cover a football field. Good Lord, I did not need to know that. That is insane. Now you're talking football fields. Now you're getting my attention. She said, I've got it. Combine your desires for a run club meetup and representing in an Olympic event. We need to have a BOGP Olympics in Walt Disney World. I would make every effort to be a part of that. Yes, we do. That'd be awesome. Trisha, you rock. And we're going to talk commercials next week. And we need to have that meetup ASAP. All right. So that is it. Thanks for the feedback. Okay. Again, commercials next week. Anything you want to talk about, let's do it. You guys have a great week. Live call-in show tonight. Same time, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central with Scotty G. But I want to give you guys first heads up. Nobody knows about this yet. On Wednesday night, the Wednesday before Halloween. So that's going to be on, let me hit the calendar here. It's coming up. Wednesday night, October 29th. Wait, is this going to work? Yes. On Wednesday night, October 29th, what we're going to do, I don't have a guest scheduled for that night. We're going to do a live call-in show that night, and it's going to be all Halloween stories from your favorite Halloween. So it's going to be an open line. So if you want to call in that night, let's do Halloween stories that night, and then I'll just air it in the Monday slot. It'll be a couple days after Halloween. But we'll just we'll air it on that Monday slot so people that miss it can listen to it a couple days after Halloween. So heads up, we'll do it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central on Wednesday night, October 29th. It'll be a live call-in show in the middle of the week on Wednesday night, October 29th, Halloween special. Doesn't have to be Disney. You can talk about your favorite Halloween costume from when you were a kid, favorite candy, whatever you want. So just put that on the calendar to call me on Wednesday night, October 29th. You're the first to know. I'll announce it on the shows tomorrow. All right. Talk to you guys tonight. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you real soon.